It's 11:30 p.m. on a Tuesday. You're lying in bed, the blue light from your phone washing over your face, illuminating that mix of exhaustion and anxiety that we've all become way too familiar with. You just checked your bank account. Maybe you got paid today, maybe you didn't, but the number staring back at you feels insufficient. It feels like you're running on a treadmill that is speeding up, and you're just trying not to fly off the back of it. You see the headlines on social media? People your age buying Lamborghinis, retiring at 35, posting screenshots of portfolios that look like phone numbers, and it just makes you want to throw the phone across the room. You think to yourself, I work hard, am smart, so why does it feel like I'm just treading water while everyone else is surfing a wave? And then the thought creeps in. The quiet, cynical voice that says, investing is for rich people. It's for people who have thousands of dollars to throw around. I've got rent, I've got student loans, I've got a life to live. I don't have $10,000 to drop into the stock market today, so why even bother starting with what little I have? I've been there. I've felt that pit in my stomach when you look at your savings account and realize that an emergency fund is basically a myth you heard about once. My name is Mac, and I spend way too much time thinking about money, financial psychology, and why some people seem to effortlessly build wealth while others stay stuck in the same financial patterns for decades, watching their savings erode with inflation and their dreams get pushed back another year. But here's the thing that keeps me up at night, and it's probably the most important thing you're going to hear all day. The barrier to entry isn't as high as you think. In fact, the distance between where you are right now, stressed, checking your balance at midnight, and being a legitimate millionaire isn't a massive inheritance or a six-figure salary. It's not a lucky crypto pick or a hot stock tip from your cousin. It's a boring, predictable, almost invisible number, $500. Now, I know what you're thinking. $500. Mac, do you know how expensive eggs are, right? Now, do you know how much my rent went up? I get it. $500 feels like a lot, but stick with me, because we're going to break down exactly how that specific amount, $500 a month, is the tipping point, the magic lever that turns a normal financial life into an extraordinary one, and how you can pull that lever without sacrificing your soul. Okay, let's get the boring stuff out of the way first, because the math here is actually the exciting part. It's the part that doesn't care about your feelings, your politics, or your bad luck. It just is. We're going to assume a few things. We're going to assume you invest $500 a month. Not $500 one time, $500 every single month. You treat it like a bill, like rent, like electricity. It just happens. We're going to assume you put this into a standard S&P 500 index fund, a low-cost basket of the biggest companies in America. We're not trying to pick the next Apple or Tesla here. We're just betting on America continuing to, exist and do business. Historically, the stock market has returned about 10% a year on average. Some years it's down 20%, some years it's up 30%, but over the long run, it averages out to around 10%. Now, if you invest $500 a month at a 10% annual return, do you know how long it takes to hit $1 million? It takes about 25 to 26 years. Let that sink in. 25 years. If you start at age 25, you're a millionaire before you turn 50. If you start at 30, you're there at 55. That is retirement age. That is, walk away from your boss if you want to money. And the craziest part, the amount of money you actually put out of your own pocket is only $150,000. You put in $150,000 over 25 years, and the market, the magic of compound interest, kicks in the other $850. Odo, it feels like cheating, doesn't it? It feels like there has to be a catch, but this is a secret the wealthy class has understood for centuries. They don't work for their millions. They let their money work for them. When you're young, you think you need to earn your way to wealth with your sweat and your time. And yeah, you need the income to get the $500. But the wealth? The wealth comes from the waiting. It comes from the snowball rolling down the hill. Think about a snowball. You know the analogy? When you start, you're packing this tiny ball of snow in your hands. It's cold, your hands are freezing, and you're just scraping ice off the ground. For the first few years, it feels like nothing is happening. You push it picks up a little snow, but it's still just a snowball. It's not a boulder yet. This is the valley of despair. This is where most people quit. They look at their account after 3 years. They see they have maybe $20,000 or $30,000, and they think, this is never going to get me to $1 million. They stop pushing. But if you keep pushing, something happens. The ball gets bigger. And as it gets bigger, the surface area touching the snow gets bigger. It starts picking up more snow with every rotation. By year 15, that snowball is massive. It's rolling on its own momentum. You're barely even pushing it anymore. You're just steering it. That is what happens with compound interest. In the last 5 years of that 25-year journey, you make more money than you did in the first 15 years combined. But let's be real, the math is easy. The math is straightforward. The hard part is the space between your ears. We talked about the snowball, but we need to talk about the brick wall. The brick wall is the feeling that $500 isn't enough. We live in an era of instant gratification. We want the result now. We scroll through Instagram and we see the now. We see the cash, the cars, the trips. We don't see the 25 years of boring, consistent investing. We see the highlight reel. And because we see the highlight reel, we discount the slow process. We think, if I can't put in $5,000 today, why bother putting in $500? This is called all or nothing thinking, and it is the wealth killer. It convinces you that if you can't do it big, you shouldn't do it at all. I see this all the time. People wait until they have a perfect amount to start investing. They wait for their bonus. They wait for their tax refund. They wait for the right time. Here is the harsh truth. The right time was 10 years ago. The second best time is right now. Let me tell you a quick story about two friends. Let's call them Dave and Sarah. Dave is the all-or-nothing guy. He's 30 years old. He says, you know what? I'm going to start investing, but I want to do it right. I'm going to wait until I can invest $1,000 a month. That way, you'll get to my million faster. So he waits. He spends a few years paying off some debts, upgrading his car, waiting for that big raise that never seems to come quite as fast as inflation. He finally starts investing $1,000 a month at age 40. Sarah is the slow starter. At 30, she only has $500. But she starts immediately. She doesn't wait. She puts that $500 in every single month. Fast forward to age 65. Dave, who invested the bigger amount but started later, ends up with roughly $2.3 million. That's great, right? I mean, who wouldn't take $2.3 million? But Sarah, who started early with the smaller amount, she ends up with over $2.7 million. She put in less money per month. She invested less of her own cash overall. Plus, she started earlier. Time is the one asset you can never get back. You can always earn more money later, but you cannot earn more time. The not enough mindset, waiting for the perfect number, cost Dave nearly $500,000. That is the price of hesitation. So, you're sold on the idea. You get the math. $500 a month, 25 years, boom, millionaire. But where do you get the $500? This is where the rubber meets the road. This is where the script usually flips to stop drinking avocado toast. But I'm not going to give you that lecture. You know how to budget? You know that eating out every night costs money. The real enemy isn't your morning coffee. It's something much more subtle. It's called lifestyle creep. It happens the moment you get a raise. You're making $50,000 a year, living comfortably, maybe a little tight. Then you get a promotion. You're making $65,000. It's a massive win. But instead of keeping your expenses the same and investing the extra $15,000, or at least a big chunk of it, what do? You move into a slightly better apartment. You get a newer car. You start buying the slightly better wine. You subscribe to a few more streaming services. Suddenly, your expenses have risen to meet your new income. You feel just as tight at $65,000 as you did at $50,000. This is the treadmill. This is why people making $200,000 a year can still be broke. Their lifestyle is a monster that always needs to be fed. To find that $500, you have to arrest that creep. You have to decide, consciously, to live on less than you make, not just for a month, but forever. It doesn't mean you have to live in a van and eat ramen. It means you defend your gap. The gap is the space between your income and your expenses. That gap is your wealth-building material. If your income goes up, your gap must go up. If your income stays the same but inflation hits, your expenses must be defended so your gap doesn't shrink. I'm not saying you can't enjoy your money. You worked hard for it. But if you want that $1 million portfolio, you have to look at that $500 not as a bill, but as a payment to your future self. It's a tax on your present self to liberate your future self. Think about it this way. When you buy a new pair of shoes on credit, you're basically stealing from your future self to pay for your present self. And your future self, they're going to be really annoyed because they have to pay interest on those shoes. When you invest $500, you're sending a care package to your future self.